The night had that stillness that only comes after a long rain. Streetlights flickering off puddles, air heavy with the smell of wet asphalt. I was in the garage behind the Iron Vipers clubhouse, leaning over my bike, trying to drown out memories with the hum of metal. Some nights it worked. Tonight it didn't. That's when my burner rang. A number I didn't recognize. A voice I did. Mason, it's Emily. I didn't know who else to call. My chest tightened. Emily was the single mom who lived 2 miles from the old airstrip. Sweet woman. Quiet. Kept to herself except when she brought her little boy, Ben, to our annual charity rides. Her husband died 3 winters back. Hit and run nobody ever solved. What's wrong? I asked. Her breath shook. They're inside my house. The words hit me like a fist. Who? Squatters. 6 of them. They broke in last night. I tried to leave, but they blocked the door. They've been threatening me, saying Ben's room is theirs now. And tonight, they said more men are coming. I stood up straight. My hand tightened around the phone. Where's your boy? At my sister's. Thank God. But they said if I call the cops, I'd regret it. They know your club runs this territory. They said you can't save me. That flipped a switch inside me. The switch I try to keep buried. Sit tight. Lock yourself in a room. Don't make any noise. Mason, I'm scared. I'm coming. I ended the call and threw the garage doors open. The night air slapped my face awake. Inside the clubhouse, I could already hear laughter, clinking bottles, the low rumble of a Reaper engine being tuned. My brothers, damaged men, loyal men, were here. And tonight, I need every single one. Because anyone who threatens a mother in my town, anyone who tries to use my club's name to scare her, they don't walk away. I kicked open the clubhouse door. Music cut. Heads turned. Every brother there felt the shift in the air, the kind that meant war. Church. Now. My voice echoed off the concrete walls. Steele, our VP, stood first. Tall, quiet, eyes like chipped ice. Ghost, our recon scout, slid off his bar stool next, tattoos crawling up his neck like black vines. Tank, our enforcer, cracked his knuckles as he stood. Grim, our medic and war veteran, flicked his cigarette away. Within seconds, the table room was full. Steele stared at me. What's wrong? I didn't sit. A mom named Emily, the one from the charity rides. Squatters took her house. Armed. 6 inside. Reinforcements coming. They threatened her kid. A low rumble of anger spread around the table. Cops. Ghost asked. Corrupt. I spit the word. She called once. Dispatcher told her they were too short-staffed to respond. That area is run by Officer Darvis and his little side operation. Steele's jaw tightened. Darvis was known. A dirty uniform who moonlighted as muscle for anyone who paid. Tank leaned forward. Permission to break something? Not yet. I looked around the room. These men had been through hell with me. Cartel shootouts, ambushes, betrayals. We knew pain. We knew loss. But hurting a mother and threatening a child? That crossed every line. We're not going half-manned, I said. We mobilize everyone. Steele nodded. Full call. Full call. Ghost smirked. Haven't had one of those in a while. I pressed the panic button on the table, the one we only used in emergencies. Within seconds, phones buzzed throughout the building, then across town, then across counties. 300 brothers. One signal. Within an hour, the Iron Vipers would thunder across the dark road like a storm of engines and vengeance. Steele cracked his neck. What's the plan? I looked each brother in the eye. We're going to protect that woman and anyone standing in our way. I let the silence finish the sentence. Engines roared to life one by one, forming a sound that shook the night. a symphony of thunder and steel. My bike, a matte black dyno with scars older than half the new recruits, vibrated under me like a living thing ready to break loose. I slid my helmet on, but the ghosts in my head rode with me. Memories of my sister, murdered in her apartment by a man who thought no one would come for her. That failure shaped every choice I made since. Not again. Never again. Ghost pulled up beside me. Darvis won't like this. He doesn't have to, I said. He just has to get out of the way. Tank grinned on my right. If he doesn't, I'll move him. Steele signaled from the front of the pack. The first row shifted into a tight formation. Behind us, lines of bikes stretched into the parking lot, dozens then hundreds. Headlights glowed like a wall of white fire. 300 Vipers. 300 men with nothing left to fear. We rolled out onto the highway, engines harmonizing into a roar you could feel in your bones. The night swallowed us whole, long stretches of farmland flashing by, moonlight cutting across chrome and leather. The ride always had a way of calming me, even tonight when every passing mile tightened the knot in my chest. Emily had sounded broken. If those men touched her, the throttle twisted itself in my hand. We turned off the main road and headed toward the outskirts, old industrial land, closed warehouses, the kind of place even cops avoided unless paid. Ghost scouted ahead, his tail light bobbing like a red star in the dark. Over the intercom, he spoke. Lights ahead. 2 cars outside the property. More arriving. Steele growled. Squatters don't roll that deep. Someone's backing them. I already knew who. Darvis. Or worse, the man Darvis answered to. Stay tight, I ordered. No one acts till I say. The wind whipped past me. My heart hammered with something between fury and purpose. Tonight wasn't just about saving Emily. It was about sending a message. No one terrorizes families in our territory. Not while the Iron Vipers breathe. Emily's house sat alone at the edge of a dead-end road, half hidden behind overgrown trees and a rusted chain-link fence. The porch light flickered weakly, illuminating broken furniture, shattered glass, and beer cans tossed across her lawn. The place looked less like a home and more like a war zone waiting to happen. Ghosts circled around from the field. 6 inside confirmed. 2 more outside, armed, watching the road. Steele nodded. They expecting us. Not 300 of us, Ghost replied with a grim smirk. I scanned the scene, my mind running tactical routes. Entry points, exits, potential crossfire, blind corners. I've been a soldier before I became a biker. These eyes never stopped measuring. Tank sniffed the air. Smells like cheap liquor and meth. Grim crouched beside the broken fence. They're not professionals, but desperate people make messy choices. Desperate or backed by someone worse. Emily's windows were dark except one, the upstairs room. A faint light seeped out through a thin curtain. She was inside, scared, alone. My jaw clenched. This is her home, I murmured. She worked double shifts for years to keep this place, and they walk in like they own it. Steele glanced at me. You thinking about your sister? I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Tank kicked a piece of wood aside. Someone should have warned these idiots who lives in this territory. Someone did, Ghost said. They just didn't listen. I stepped forward, engine heat still clinging to my leather, boots sinking slightly into the damp soil. We're not killing anyone unless we have to, I said. We get Emily out first. Then we deal with whoever ordered this. Steele folded his arms. And if Darvis shows, then he learns what happens when you threaten a family under my protection. The brothers stiffened at my tone. I wasn't making threats. I was stating facts. My radio crackled. New bikes arriving. More headlights casting long shadows across the field. 300 bikers surrounding a small home. The squatters inside had no idea what kind of storm was about to crash down on them. Grim whispered, "Let's get her." I gave the signal. Every engine cut. The silence that followed was terrifying. Even the night held its breath. We hadn't even moved in when the blue and red lights flared down the road like a bad omen. Ghost cursed under his breath. Speak of the devil. A patrol car screeched to a stop. Out stepped Officer Darvis, thick-necked, cocky, wearing a grin that told me he thought he had the upper hand. Two more officers followed, but their eyes avoided mine. Darvis strolled up like he owned the place. "Well, Mason Knox," he drawled, thumb hooked behind his belt. "Heard your crew was riding. Didn't expect you to surround a house like you're invading a country." Steele muttered, "We could." Darvis smirked. "You boys need to disperse. This is a police matter." "Funny," I said. "When Emily called you, it wasn't." His grin faltered for half a second. "Squatters have rights," he said. "It's a civil dispute, not a criminal one. Threatening a woman and her child is criminal." "Got any proof?" he asked, shrugging. "'Cause I got body cams that say otherwise." Tank stepped forward, voice low. "You protect them? Or are they paying you extra to look away?" Darvis's entire posture shifted. A tell. I'd seen it in men just before they pulled a gun or ran. "You boys are interfering with an active investigation," he said. "Turn your bikes around and clear the road." I stepped nose to nose with him. "No," he blinked. "You don't get to tell a mother she's on her own," I said. "Not in my town. Not on my watch." His jaw flexed. "Mason, don't make this ugly. It already is." Behind him, the squatters opened the door and peeked out, pale, nervous, holding weapons they barely knew how to handle. One shouted, "Hey, Darvis, you said you'd keep them away." Silence. Darvis froze, and every viper heard it. Ghost whispered, and there it is, the truth. Darvis was protecting them, maybe even working with whoever organized this takeover. I took a step back, my voice calm but lethal. "You just handed the whole game to me." Darvis reached for his gun. Tank was faster. He grabbed Darvis by the wrist, twisted, and slammed him against the patrol car. The other officers backed up, but Steele held up a hand. "No one's dying tonight, but no one's stopping us either." Darvis struggled. "You're making a mistake." "No," I said. "You did." Behind us, 300 bikers shifted forward, boots crunching across gravel like an approaching army. The squatters slammed the door shut. Darvis swallowed hard. Whatever he thought was going to happen tonight, he was wrong. Very wrong. Darvis sat cuffed to his own patrol car, wrist behind him, sweat starting to bead along his hairline. Tank had tossed him there like a bag of trash, and no one, not even his fellow officers, bothered protesting anymore. They weren't dirty, just scared of crossing the wrong man. I crouched in front of Darvis. "Who sent them?" He spit at my boots. "Go to hell." Tank stepped forward, but I lifted a hand. Darvis wasn't worth losing control over. Not yet. 6 squatters don't take over a single mom's house by accident, I said. "What's the angle? Money? Territory? Is someone laundering through foreclosed homes again?" His jaw twitched. There it was. Steele noticed it too. "Someone wants this property. But why?" Grim asked quietly. "It's small. Old. Useless." "Not useless," Ghost said from behind us. I scanned the county records before we rode out. That land sits right over a planned pipeline extension. If the house is marked abandoned, the county sells it cheap. A slow curse escaped my mouth. "They push her out," Steele said. "They get the land." Darvis laughed bitterly. "You think you can stop progress? The man behind this owns the zoning board, half the sheriff's office, and 3 city council seats." I stared him down. "Name." Darvis's bravado flickered. just for a second. Then he said it. Vernon Gale. The name hit like a sledgehammer. Vernon Gale, construction magnate, corrupt businessman, father of two sons who ran their own private security team. A man untouchable by law, feared by half the county. And the one man I once put in the hospital years ago when he backed a gang that killed a kid in our territory. Gale never forgot, never forgave. Steele muttered, "This is retaliation." "No," I said, my voice going cold. "This is a message." He thinks we're weakened, thinks we won't protect a civilian. Ghost added, "House is probably bugged. Squatters too. Pay to escalate things." Gale wants an excuse to bulldoze her life. I looked at Emily's house, the faint glow of her upstairs lamp shaking slightly, maybe from her trembling hands. "This ends tonight," I said, "but we don't run him blind. Gale's men will be here soon." Ghost nodded. "Already spotted 2 black SUVs heading this way." 10 minutes out. I rose to my feet. Prepositions. Defensive perimeter. Get Emily out quietly. No gunfire unless I call it. Steele cracked his knuckles. And Gale. I exhaled slowly, rage simmering just under the surface. Gale gets the truth tonight, the one I've been saving for him. The headlights appeared in the distance like twin eyes of something predatory. Black SUVs, tinted windows, no plats. Gale's men. 300 bikers stood silent as the vehicles rolled up, stopping just beyond the fence. The first door opened, and out stepped a tall, sharp-featured man with slicked-back hair, wearing a suit that cost more than Emily's mortgage. Vernon Gale himself. He scanned the scene. The sea of bikers, the patrol car, Darvis cuffed and humiliated, the house trembling under tension. Then his eyes locked onto me. "Mason Knox," Gale said calmly. "Still pretending to play hero, I see. Still pretending money makes you untouchable." I replied. He smirked. "I warned you years ago. Stay away from my interests. Yet here you are, interfering again. Your interests include terrorizing single mothers now, stealing homes from widows." He shrugged. "Progress requires sacrifice." Tank muttered, "I'm going to sacrifice his teeth." Gale ignored him. "I own the rights to the land beneath this property. The occupant refused my offers. I simply accelerated the process. With hired thugs." I snapped. "With pressure," Gale corrected, smiling. "Everyone caves eventually." "Not her." "Oh, she will," Gale said, stepping closer. "And you're going to step aside while it happens." Behind him, his armed security team spread out. Tactical gear, AR-15s, trained posture. These weren't street thugs. They were professionals. Ex-military mercs. Steele whispered, "We're outgunned." "Not outhearted," Grimm said. Gale's voice rose. "Mason, move your men. Now." I stared him dead in the eyes. "No silence." Gale's smile dropped. "If you don't, people will die tonight." "Then pick which of your men goes first," I said, stepping forward. Gale gestured subtly. His men raised their rifles. My brothers tightened formation. The air thickened, the kind of tension that makes the world hold its breath. Then from inside the house, a scream. "Emily." Everything shattered at once. I reached the front door first, boots slamming into it so hard the hinges snapped. The inside reeked of cigarettes, sweat, and the kind of fear that sticks to walls. A squatter lunged at me with a knife. I caught his wrist, twisted, and dropped him hard enough to rattle the floorboards. Steele, Tank, and Ghost stormed in behind me. Emily was cornered in the hallway, 2 squatters grabbing her arms, dragging her toward the stairs. Her eyes widened when she saw me. "Mason!" Tank moved so fast the men didn't even scream. One thrown into the wall, the other pinned under Steele's knee. Ghost secured the hallway. Upstairs cleared. 3 tied up. No one else on the second floor. Emily shook violently. They said they'd hand me over to Gale's men, that they were reclaiming the house. Steele muttered, same phrasing Gale used. Emily's voice cracked. There's more, something you need to know. I steadied her shoulders. Tell me. They weren't after the house because of the land, she whispered. They were after something my husband left behind. I froze. Your husband? I asked. What did he leave? She swallowed hard. Evidence. Against Gale. Proof he was laundering money through the pipeline deal. My husband found files, and Gale had him killed. The room went dead silent. Steele whispered, a hit and run no one ever solved. Emily nodded. It wasn't an accident. It was Gale. My blood turned to fire. Everything snapped into place. The pressure, the takeover, the escalation. Gale didn't want the land. He wanted the proof. And they think it's hidden here? I asked. Emily nodded. In the basement. My husband said if anything happened to him, to protect it. I never looked. I was too scared. Ghost spoke into his radio. We need brothers covering the basement entrance. Now. Emily gripped my jacket, terror in her eyes. He killed my husband, Mason, and now he wants to erase us completely. I felt something dark settle inside me. Not rage, not vengeance. Conviction. We're ending this tonight, I said. For him. For you. For every family Gale has crushed. Outside, Gale shouted, Mason, step out now, or my men open fire. Tank grinned. Can I answer him? I shook my head. I will. I stepped outside onto the broken porch. Rain began to fall again. Light at first, then harder, soaking the ground, washing the dirt from the air. Gale's men aimed their rifles. 300 bikers stepped forward behind me. And for the first time tonight, Gale looked uncertain. Rain hammered the ground, turning dirt into mud and shadows into something darker. Gale stood beneath his SUV's open door, trying to shield himself from the downpour, but his confidence didn't look as waterproof as his suit. Mason, he called, voice strained now. This is your last warning. I stepped down from the porch slowly, boots sinking into wet soil, shoulders squared. You made the mistake of thinking this was about land, I said, or intimidation, or money. Gale frowned. Everything is about money. Not tonight. Ghost signaled from the right flank. The Vipers had secured the perimeter. Steele held the left with 50 riders, engines ready to roar if needed. Tank stood just behind me, looming like a wall of violence waiting for permission. Gale glanced around, discomfort flickering across his face. You think you can win this standoff? He asked. I have been trained for combat. And I have men who survive combat, I replied. Gale's lips tightened. I stepped closer. Your men kill for a paycheck. Mine kill to protect family. Tell me, who do you think is willing to die tonight? Thunder cracked overhead. Gale's men shuffled. One lowered his rifle by mistake. Tank smirked. They're getting nervous. Gale jabbed a finger toward the house. I want what's inside. The files. Hand them over. And I let the woman walk away. No, I said flatly. He blinked. You don't know what's in them. I know enough. I know you murdered her husband. A flicker of anger flashed across Gale's face. He interfered. He stole from me. He exposed you. He was a nobody. Gale snapped. I did what I had to do. I lowered my voice to a deadly calm. And now I'm doing what I have to do. Before Gale could respond, Ghost spoke into his radio. Mason, movement behind the vehicles. More men incoming. Looks like Gale's private militia. Great. The night was about to explode. I turned back to Gale. You picked the wrong family. The wrong house. The wrong territory. He snarled. You and your pathetic biker gang can't stop progress. I leaned in just enough for him to hear my next words over the rain. We aren't stopping progress. We're stopping you. I lifted my hand. 300 Vipers revved their engines at once. The earth shook. Gale stepped back, fear slicing through his polished exterior. And that's when the bullets started flying. The opening shots came from Gale's militia, 3 sharp cracks cutting through rain and thunder. Vipers hit the dirt instinctively, rolling behind bikes, cars, anything solid. Steel shouted orders. Tank roared. Ghost vanished into the shadows like smoke. I grabbed Emily and pulled her behind the concrete well house near the porch steps. Stay low, I barked. She nodded, shaking, tears mixing with rain. Gale retreated behind his SUV as his men fired suppressive bursts. The squatters inside the house shouted and scrambled, now panicking because they realized their employer didn't care whether they lived or died. Flank left, Steele yelled. Cut off their view. Tank charged through mud like a bull, dragging a fallen tree limb to create cover for the advancing Vipers. Bullets gouged the ground inches from his boots, but Tank just laughed and kept going. Ghost slipped behind one of the mercenaries in total silence and took him down with a chokehold, so clean it looked rehearsed. I scanned the battlefield, chaos, gunfire, panic, until my eyes locked on Gale. He peeked over the SUV hood, gun trembling slightly. He wasn't used to fear. Good. A bullet ricocheted off the well house near Emily's head. She gasped, ducking. I grabbed her hand. Basement. Now, your husband hid something worth dying for. We need to secure it before they breach this place. But the fighting, I'll get you there. We crawled along the side of the house, mud soaking our clothes. Rain masked our movement as bullets tore into siding and shattered windows. Ghost's voice crackled through my radio. Mason, more incoming from the back tree line. They're trying to surround you. Hold them, I said. We're retrieving the files. Copy. Tank's roar echoed across the yard. You want to fight? Come get it. Emily and I reached the basement door, an old wooden hatch half hidden beneath a tarp. I ripped it open, ushered her inside. You first, I said. She hesitated. Mason, if I don't make it, you will. I followed her down the creaking steps, heart pounding. Gunfire grew louder outside, a storm inside a storm, and somewhere beneath our feet, answers waited. Answers Gale wanted enough to kill for. The basement smelled of mildew, rust, and a lingering scent of old motor oil. My boots hit the concrete floor as Emily hurried toward a cluttered workbench filled with her late husband's tools, notebooks, and dusty boxes. A bare bulb flickered overhead, casting shaky shadows. Emily dug through a cabinet. He kept everything organized, said if anything ever happened, the truth needed witnesses. Smart man, I said, scanning the room for any signs of tampering or traps Gale might have set through his squatters. No one's been down here, she whispered. They didn't know where to look. She pulled out a metal lockbox, heavy, dented, and sealed with 2 latches. I took it from her gently. This is it. She nodded. All the evidence he had on Gale's pipeline fraud. Financial records, wire transfers, fake land grabs. He wanted to expose it. Outside, bullets hammer the walls. I checked my radio. Ghost, Steele, Tank, we have the files. Status. Ghost, holding the right flank, but they're pushing hard. Steele, left side managed. Gale's retreating to the SUVs. Tank, I got 2 down. 3 more are trying to breach the porch. Hold them, I said. Extracting Emily is priority. Then Gale falls. Emily looked at me. Fear and hope clashing in her eyes. What do we do now? I handed her the lockbox. We survive. Then we burn his empire to the ground. Suddenly, boom, the basement door upstairs exploded off its hinges. Emily screamed. Footsteps thundered above us. Heavy, fast, determined. Gail's men had breached the house. I grabbed Emily's arm and pulled her behind the furnace. Stay silent. 3 sets of boots stomped down the stairs. Rifles ready. Flashlights cut across the basement like blinding spears. Search everything, one barked. Gail wants the files now. A mercenary kicked over a shelf. Another smashed open storage bins. We held our breath. One step dangerously close to our hiding spot. Maybe 3 feet away, flashlight trembling as he scanned the shadows. His boot nudged the corner of the furnace. Emily squeezed my hand. I prepared to strike. Then, radio static rang in the Merc's earpiece. Mason Knox is flanking right side. Terminate all targets. The Merc spun toward the stairs. He's here. Move. The 3 stormed back up the steps. I exhaled silently. Emily collapsed against the furnace, shaking. Come on, I whispered. We move now. Back upstairs, the fight raged. And if we didn't leave soon, Gail would get desperate. A desperate man was always the most dangerous kind. Rain hammered the cracked glass like impatient fingers, each drop tapping a warning none of them were ready to hear. The apartment belonged to a dead man now, Cal Ridge, the missing accountant who turned out to be the stepfather's silent partner in the trafficking ring. His place smelled like damp clothes, old cigarettes, and fear soaked into the walls. Rook pushed the door open first, silent as a ghost despite his size. Behind him, Jax and Harlan fanned out, guns low but ready, boots stepping on the warped wooden floor without a creak. These were veterans of quiet kills and loud wars. Nothing rattled them, but something in this room did. Someone was here, Harlan murmured. The table was set for one. Soup half-eaten, spoon still warm. Not long ago either, Jax said. Rook walked deeper, shoulders tense. The lights flickered against water stains on the ceiling. A TV still hummed on a news channel with the volume turned down. Static washed over the floor like light fog. Then Rook stopped dead. What is it? Jax asked. Rook didn't answer. He was staring at a wall covered in photographs, taped, pinned, layered. Some fresh, some yellow with time. But all of them had one thing in common. Girls, runaways, victims, survivors, targets. And in the center, circled in red marker, was the girl from the hospital, Mia, the kid they saved. The kid who had screamed when she heard her stepfather's name. The kid who hadn't told them everything. Jack stepped closer. God, they were hunting her. Not just her. The photos formed a pattern. A map. A timeline. A schedule. They were planning a transfer, the kind of transfer nobody returned from. Then Rook's voice dropped into a whisper. Someone's watching us. Jax turned toward the window. A silhouette stood in the building across the alley, still tall, hands clasped behind his back like he was posing for a portrait. He wore a dark coat, face hidden by shadow, but Rook could feel his stare like a knife pressed to the throat. The man slowly lifted a phone, took a picture of them, and disappeared into the darkness. Move, Rook barked, racing to the window, but the man was already gone, swallowed by rain and night. Who the hell was that? Jax growled. Harlan knelt by the table. A note lay under the soup bowl, weighed down by a spoon. Bring the girl back. US1. Jax felt his stomach drop. S. Only one man signed his threats like that. Sandor, the auctioneer, the ghost who ran the ring from shadows. The man even other criminals feared. He knows we have her, Jax said. No, Rook replied quietly. He knows she remembers something. Jax frowned. But Mia said she didn't. She lied. Rook cut in. The room fell silent. Then the lights flickered again, went out, came back on, and every single photo on the wall had been replaced. 20 identical pictures. Mia, tied to a chair, blindfolded, alive, terrified. Rook's jaw clenched so tight it cracked. He wants war, he said. Harlan holstered his weapon. Then let's give him one. Thunder shook the room. The message was clear. The hunters had become the hunted. The rain hit the asphalt in sheets, the kind that turned the night into a shifting wall of gray. Rook stood at the head of the formation, engine rumbling beneath him, breath fogging in the cold. Behind him, 200 patch jackets formed a spine of steel and vengeance stretching down the abandoned stretch of highway leading to Sandor's compound. No more planning. No more running. No more ghosts. Tonight it ended. Mia sat in the van behind the men, wrapped in Bishop's spare leather. She hadn't said much since the reveal. Not about her sister. Not about Sandor. Not about the memory that had broken open inside her like shrapnel. But when she stepped out earlier and whispered, "I'm ready to finish it," Rook knew she meant it. He wasn't just protecting her anymore. He was fighting beside her. Ghost rolled up next to him. Gates 2 clicks out. Guards rotating every 6. Motion sensors in the field. Whole place wired like a cartel bunker. Doesn't matter, Rook said. Because? Ghost asked. Rook lifted his visor and stared straight ahead. Because he has what belongs to her, and nobody takes from us. The men behind him responded with a single thunderous rev of engines. War. They rode. Sandor's compound sat like a wound in the earth. Floodlights slicing the rain. Guard towers manned with rifles. Vehicles lined behind steel fencing. The moment the first row of bikes appeared, alarms began screaming. But Rook wasn't slowing. He gunned the throttle, tires spitting water, roar shaking the night. Breach point in 3. Jax yelled, 2, 1. Tank's truck smashed the perimeter fence like paper. Sparks exploded around them. Gunfire tore through the dark. The club poured in behind him, a flood of leather, steel, and rage. Inside the main building, Sandor waited. He wasn't running. He wasn't hiding. He was smiling. "You brought an army for a girl who doesn't even belong to you," he said as Rook entered the long hallway. Rook didn't draw his gun. He didn't need it. Mia stepped out from behind him, chin trembling but raised. "Where is my sister?" Sandor cocked his head. The truth." He tapped a file on the desk. "Your mother sold both of you, but she kept one for a few more years. Your sister, she wasn't so lucky." Mia shook. Rage swallowed her breathing. "She's alive. I know she's alive." She was, Sandor corrected. Until last year, the scream Mia released was silent, a collapse inward. Rook stepped beside her, his presence a shield. Sandor shrugged, bored. Children break so easily. Rook moved before the man finished the sentence. The fight wasn't cinematic. It wasn't a dance. It was survival. Rook slammed Sandor into the desk, forearm to throat, breaking the veneer and half the frame. Sandor fought dirty. Knife from his sleeve, slash to the ribs, a punch to the temple. But Rook took it. Took all of it. Every hit Sandor landed unleashed a memory Rook had buried. The boy he tried to save. The shipment he burned. The life he couldn't protect. And then another memory. Mia's terrified eyes in the doorway. Her sister's name on the list. The girls screaming in the locked rooms. Rook's restraint broke. He disarmed Sandor with a snap that echoed like bone-cracking ice. Threw him across the room. And when Sandor reached for another blade, Rook brought his boot down hard. Once, twice, until the man who built a business on breaking children stopped moving, stopped breathing, stopped being anyone's monster. Silence fell over the compound. Then cheering erupted from outside as the last of Sandor's men were taken down. Ghost entered the room first, blood on his cheek, grin cracked wide. "It's done, brother." Bishop followed, carrying a group of trembling girls wrapped in blankets. "They're safe." Mia stepped toward Sandor's body. For a moment, Rook worried she'd collapse. Instead, she whispered, "For my sister." Then she turned away. Hours later, the storm eased. The bikes idled in a long line as Rook and Mia stood on the edge of the property, lights from emergency vehicles flashing over the field. "You don't owe me anything," Rook said quietly. Mia shook her head. "You didn't save me, Rook. You show me how to stand." He didn't know what to say to that. She continued, voice steadier now. "Your brotherhood, you didn't protect just me. You protected what people forget girls like me still have." "What's that?" "Dignity," she said, "and the right to fight back." She hugged him, quick but fierce, then stepped toward the waiting officers who would take her to a safe home, a real one this time. "Rook, watch her go, chest tight." Ghost approached. "You did good." Rook nodded. "We all did." Bishop joined them. "Sandor's empire is dust. But there'll be others." Rook stared at the horizon, where the clouds finally began to break. "Then we ride." He put on his helmet. The engines behind him roared awake. 200 warriors ready for whatever came next. The Reapers didn't ride for glory. They didn't ride for territory. They rode for the ones who couldn't. Justice wasn't always legal, but it was always earned. Rook rolled forward, leading the pack into the clearing dawn. The storm had passed, but the road ahead was endless, and the Reapers were ready.